we'll go with Howard first.
Hello. You don't know what goes on here. We're live. But welcome to the Long Island View. And I am here, Tommy Marr, with my beautiful co-host, Miss Joyce Collier. Philbin Collier. It's one of those days.
A rose
it's been
by
a
any
long,
other name
I
would
had
smell
my grandson's
sweet.
graduation at 8 o'clock this morning. So
Well, you
I
had
apologize.
4. You had 4.
I had 4 in the last 4 days.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's wonderful. I just worked
It
the
is.
last few days, but the weekend was good.
It is. So how you doing? You had a big weekend too.
I had a very big weekend. We celebrated my son's college graduation with friends and family, and there was about 50 that I cooked for. Lobster was not involved, but shrimp was. But we had a great time, and then we celebrated with out-of-town family
Yeah.
down at the beach the next day.
I saw the pictures on Facebook. It looked like you had a good time.
Yes, I'm an open book. I mean, you want to know anything
Well, you
got to
be a proud mom too.
I'm a very proud mom, and my daughter was able to fly in very quickly from Alabama. We had family from Maryland. We had family from Massachusetts. It was just a great time.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Not like family.
That's right.
Really.
Well, the kind you like anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing like family you like.
Well, I know that we have a really interesting show tonight.
Yes.
And actually, not because of the timing, but the timing is part of the show.
The timing was just a coincidence, actually,
yeah.
because our guest was actually a guest on a show I did a few years ago, but by phone. And we had been talking about doing something on air several years ago. So this is several years in the making.
Yeah.
And would you like to introduce
I
him?
think you should.
Okay, I will.
I mean, it's your hook.
Okay. Well, another very hardworking person who has a lot of credits, broadcaster, play-by-play, color commentator, stand-up comedian, voiceover artist, and there's many more that we're going to be talking about. But one very interesting feature as well is that it is he is the grandson of Howard Cosell, and we're thrilled to have him here, Colin Cosell, who has a terrific career in his own right. So we welcome you.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks so much for
very
having
happy
me.
to have you here.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine, and I second that. Family is most
Yeah.
important, except for the ones that you can excommunicate. I'm a firm believer.
Yes, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But
Unfriend them on Facebook.
Stop giving them money.
no, that hasn't happened. At
No, I know.
all.
Trust
Yeah,
me.
No,
I have 6 grandsons that live with me.
no.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
That's hence the graduations.
You have a seat with your name on it. In
Oh,
heaven.
and I have to say happy birthday to my daughter today. It's a birthday today.
Oh, yes.
I'm not going to tell them how old
Can't
you
say
are.
how old. Nope.
But God bless. I love you, Jessica.
Aw,
well. What
that's
you do
great.
is you start adding on the years from when they turn 21, and then
Oh.
you say this is So,
The
for instance, my mom
second-
just turned 71, and I said happy 50th year of drinking legally.
Oh, that's great.
Now,
That's great.
I used to love Big Righteous Brothers fan. I've seen them probably 20 times. And every time I saw them, they used to always say, I'm 4011. Like if they were 51, they were
Oh.
4011. Well, that's how they always said their age.
Well, I got to tell you, I was in the emergency room one night with my daughter, and you know how they triage you and they take all of your information. The woman asked me how old I was, and I couldn't remember. And I said, "Now wait
Stroke?
a second." No, no, I think it was like a sprained hand or something. But
And you're worried about me?
I literally couldn't figure it out. I was like, "Okay, I know I was born in, I'm not telling you." And I just started, and my daughter just shook her head. She goes, "Mom, you are so old."
Wow.
And so, like, help me out here. How old am I?
Yeah, really.
See, a lot of people complain they can't do simple math, but if you come up with some sort of equation that makes you sound younger than you really are, my goodness, people can
That's
count
right.
like that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, Colin, you have had a great career thus far. You have won 3 Emmys. You were nominated 12 times in a 5-year span. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you did, and was that at the MSG Varsity Channel?
That was with MSG Varsity. They launched in 2008, and I joined about a year after they had launched.
Oh, nice.
And they basically took a chance on me because out of school, As you mentioned, with my lineage, with my grandfather, I was very intimidated by the shoes I was going to fill. I'm the youngest of four.
Understandably.
And I was the only one of the four who, at age
really?
5, said, I want to do what Papa does. I loved being in front of the microphone. I loved watching him do what he did. And I was just enthralled and enthusiastic about this, and I was going to build a career on it.
At what age did it start?
5.
Really?
Do
5
you
years
remember
old.
your first memory of watching him where, that's when it hit you?
Yes, West Hampton Beach. My grandfather had a house on Dune Road, and each summer my family would go out there. It was a big enough house that my grandparents could have their 2 daughters and their families come out.
Nice.
And we would spend the entire summer out there. Of course, talk about a bizarre dichotomy. You've got an entire year of living in middle-class lifestyle and then living in this gigantic house with a swimming pool in the Hamptons on
Yes.
the water.
Now, where were you living at the time?
In Stamford, Connecticut. And then we'd pack up the car, as soon as school let out, and
must have
we'd
loved
spend.
that, huh?
Oh, yes, it was the only reason to work through the year.
Now, the summers out in the Hamptons, did you have, I know that where I live, some of the people that brought their families in, some of the, the estates in the village where I live, their family members would come out and stay at the houses that were only utilized in the summertime. Was there a group of people that came out in the summertime that you became part of that community?
He was on Dune Road.
No, I know that, but
Well-
sometimes they can stay to themselves, or sometimes they can be,
It was different back then, too.
Actually,
Yeah.
the house right next door to us, the Mannings, Bill Manning was, they were wonderful neighbors, became really dear friends of the family. We all belonged to a beach club up the street, which to me seemed a little ludicrous because we were directly across the street. Dune Road
Right.
is, it's
That's
a barrier
probably the
reef.
meeting place for everybody that lives there.
That's exactly
I
it.
used to live in
So-
West Hampton. I lived there for about 4 years.
And I still go there. Dave's Bun and Burger is still my favorite breakfast joint in the country.
And whatever happened to the house out in West Hampton?
We ended up selling it in 2002, or after the summer of 2002. Those things just become a money pit.
Yes.
And none of us were working, $1 million contracts for ABC. So
Sure.
there was a little of internal struggle with the family about, renting it out, but this one's getting married, so can we use the house
And
for
how
this?
his wife had
And-
predeceased him, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
So there
Emmy
wasn't.
passed away in 1990. He passed away in 95, and it would have made more sense for us to rent it out for 1 month of the year. It would have paid for itself, but families.
Yeah.
No one can agree.
Oh,
So
you don't have to tell me.
Right.
We had a beautiful house on the water that we could have enjoyed, in perpetuity, and we would have been able to handle it. But it's just a very emotional time, and
Right.
you have to understand the emotions of it and let go.
Yep.
And find your summer somewhere else.
and we did,
you know,
and
yeah.
we did in Santa Mauritius.
Yeah.
My mom
And-
Oh, that's- and
bought,
that's a
bought
great-
the house
yeah.
there, and so my mom, myself, my sister and brother, and their spouses and children, we all
Now,
go
is your
out
mom
there.
there all year round, or?
She's going to retire out there.
Oh, nice.
She had hip replacement surgery and a couple other things going on that she wanted to get situated back in Stamford before moving out there full time. But that is the ultimate goal.
It's a really nice place to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful town,
Oh,
and
yes.
you're just far enough removed from the Hamptons that it's not pretentious.
Right.
It's not overrun
Well,
with.
I used to live there. I used to live there at Pine Hills Country Club, too.
I went golfing there a week ago.
Yeah.
Shot in
So
'85.
I
Very
know
proud.
I know the area very well.
I
Great
love
co-
Pine Hills.
I have my only hole. I had a hole in one there on the 5th hole. It's now a par 4, but it was only 2 hole-in-ones made on that hole, and I have one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
So I feel like I should be interviewing you.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity.
That was
I love
it.
Pine
Only,
Hills.
I mean, I'm glad I had one
Sorry.
because one is that's all I wanted was one.
I got so
and
upset
it was
I kicked the
great because it was
table.
at a Long Island Open. It was like 20 guys standing up. He was all backed up.
Right.
It was great.
Oh, so you had a
I-
crowd and everything.
And I did, and it was a free thing afterwards, so I didn't have to pay a dime.
Oh, that's
you usually got to buy
wonderful.
everybody. You
Yeah.
know? And I got stuff every month from from my shoes to my socks,
Yep.
to my clubs to my gloves. Everything
Wow.
sent me a gift every month. It
Yeah.
was great for a
Wow.
year.
I
Very
love
nice.
Pine Hills.
Crown Royal was the sponsor of it, actually.
Well,
cool.
I had a very short golf career. I first time I played at Harbor Hills, I just cried.
I bet your partner cried too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I played at others that were easier courses.
Pitch and putt.
Those I started on.
Not
But
putt
no,
putt.
tall trees,
that was
Heatherwood.
Yeah.
You know, I birdied a
That's
hole the
where I
first
started,
round I ever
Heatherwood.
played, and you know, I said, oh, you know, maybe this is
My friend
something
was
I
the
could
golf pro
do.
there, and then he moved to Pine Hills, George Cosgrove.
Very nice. Well, Harbor Hills killed it for me.
I
just-
wanted to ask you, being that you are a family guy, and I'm a family guy, and she's a family lady.
Right.
Miss
ever get,
is.
you ever get in your car and ride by the old house?
Oh, on Dune Road?
Yeah.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
And all the memories come back? and-
Absolutely. My
yeah.
girlfriend, who's younger than me,
You
you know,
devil.
I know. Can you imagine that?
And what are you all of 36?
I am 36, and she's 24.
Okay. that's all
So
You go, man.
thank you. I'm a very, very lucky guy. And she's easily the greatest thing that's happened to me. So I am trying to, you know, teach her about
Right.
what my childhood was
life.
like, my past.
Wonderful.
And the house is, you know, it's changed a bit. There used to be reeds, you know, just extended from the tennis court onto the next property, and then there was a boat slip there. And their new owners actually, and I think this is kind of wise, they chopped it down and made it a lawn. Because we didn't really have a yard there. You know,
Right.
we had a tennis court
Right.
and the swimming pool and then the beach. And I mean, that was fine by me. But
But as
it
kids,
does
it would
look
be
great.
nice to have things to do, you know, on the lawn.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
But-
the traditional croquet and volleyball
I had an
Yeah.
alley.
and horseshoes.
I had an alley.
Yeah, we were playing tennis and going swimming and doing all the things that, you know, you get a reputation for a stereotype of
Yeah.
being in the Hamptons or being from Connecticut. And
Yeah.
it's just like, well, what do? Well, I go swimming and I play
Yeah.
tennis.
Exactly.
What do you think I do? So what do you do now, Colin? Well, I play golf. Because if I don't, they won't let me through those damn city limits. So, but yeah, I drive past there. I drive past the house I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut.
That's
We sold that about a year and a half ago.
I'm one of those
and-
too. I do the same thing. I
Yeah.
still, actually, even when I leave the studio every night, I still, because we live right off the Parkway, and that's the way I go home now even. And I stop, and Janine can tell you, I stop every single time, and I talk to my father.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I see the tree, you know, everything is just like, you know, the pump that he put up, you know, the fence he
And-
put
and it
up, the
just
shed he put up.
comes- the
you know,
memories just come flooding
and I
back.
just see myself being 4 and 5 and running around playing wiffle ball, and you know, and it's emotional, but it's great. You know, it's great.
It's amazing because all of Dune Road, and especially West Hampton Beach and the Hamptons in general, have been so overbuilt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
they have just taken over every last sliver of land
What do you
and
think
built
of
a
Hampton
McMansion.
Dunes?
I mean, I'm just waiting for it to get washed out again. I was there
That
for
would be
Hurricane Bob in
wonderful.
1992, and we
Yep.
were evacuated at 4:15, 4:20 in the morning. We were packing up to leave anyway. We came back 12, 14 hours later, and there was seaweed in our driveway. You know, and that was right smack in the middle of Dune Road.
Right.
So, excuse me, you go to the end there, and it was all covered in sand, and there was
Well,
houses
Cupsog
buried.
Beach was not there for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and then the end of 2 summers ago, the whole beach hut went up in flames on
Yep.
Labor Day weekend. I don't know if you were aware of that, but
I love the beach hut.
you know, yeah, and the bands that play there
Yeah.
are awesome. So, but hopefully this year they'll be fully up and functional.
I remember
It's a
going
great
there after
beach.
Gloria. After
Yeah,
Gloria
yeah.
hit, wow, it was like, well, you would probably remember that.
85. That was that was the year. I'm a huge. I guess one of my big hobbies, 2 hobbies: culinary arts and meteorology.
Oh,
I've
I
been-
love culinary arts.
I'm a Food Network junkie. Like when I
Yeah.
just need my mind to go elsewhere, I can just watch that.
Okay, I brought this up on Facebook yesterday. I want to know what you think about this. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I finally said something on Facebook because it was driving me crazy. And I'm not going to say who, but they are network shows on during the day that are cooking shows. And they are like big time chefs. And I cannot stand when they stick their finger in what they're cooking, go like this, and then go to take a ingredient and throw it back
That's
in
a
the
George
dish.
Costanza.
Oh my God, it's
Yes, that is-
disgusting.
Double dipping.
That's
It's
exactly right.
disgusting. I mean, like, where do you stand on that?
I was always under the impression
Are-
that you take. I mean, when I'm cooking, I'll take a spoon or something.
Well, that's
and
what they
then just,
teach at
you
the
know,
chef schools.
Right.
Yes. Culinary
I guess
arts.
these guys, they're cooking for themselves and their friends.
But they have
and-
restaurants, and that's all I see
That's a
is
valid
that
point.
they're in the back restaurant, and their spit's going into the food. It's disgusting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's celebrity spit, so whatever.
Yeah,
It's,
I
know,
guess they
people could bottle
they think
that.
their spit is tasty. I just don't know.
And Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I also hear that you are a professional dart player.
I'm not a professional dart player. No,
He's a
I do
commentator.
play. I commentate for professional darts. Yes.
That
Oh,
has
you
to be-
commentate for. Oh,
Yes.
Commentate, yeah,
Yep.
that has to
Oh,
be.
I thought you
like,
actually
do you
played.
do it really quiet?
Not at all.
Oh,
Not
really?
at all. Try to make it
Oh.
as exciting, and with that, I'm able to.
Well, no,
because
the
it's kind
drama
of like
can
the
be
Wild
in-
West for us.
Yeah.
Over in the UK, they've got it down to a science, and they've got millions upon millions of viewers. It is so big
Wow.
over there.
Well, you would know. I actually used to be on the Rock Hill golf team.
Yep.
Dart team.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was
It
actually
was the
playing
winters. You know, the winters you used to play darts.
this past winter. I played for Buckley's in
Oh,
Santa
yeah.
Mauritius.
I know.
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
on a whim because I'm currently managing a bar in Manhattan because my career is kind of like a Quentin Tarantino flick. It just goes completely out of order, and I'm hoping it makes sense at the
Well,
end.
and that brings me to 15 years as a stand-up comic.
Yes.
Okay. Now, 15 years has to be concurrent with when you were also starting, broadcasting here or there. I mean, it had to have been pretty close.
So
So how does one
Yeah,
do
I-
broadcasting? And I'm sure that comedy was very much in your heart, and it's a
I always loved
passion.
making people
And
laugh. Yeah.
did it hurt your career? I mean, was there a
Was there a choice you had to make?
No, luckily. All right, so I'll backtrack to, I'll give you a quick synopsis, backtracking to the time when I realized that I wanted to follow my grandfather's footsteps. So out in West Hampton Beach, I'm 5 years old. My grandfather used to do his Speaking of Everything, or Speaking of Sports, rather. It was a 60-second bit he would do for ABC Radio, excuse me, dealing with allergies as well on top of everything.
Me too.
Spilkus.
Here's water for you.
Thank you. So he would actually get out of bed each morning, grab the New York Times. It was left on the front stoop. He'd circle a couple things. He'd jump onto his headset, and literally the microphone, headset, and everything was a live wire that went to ABC Radio from his
Wow.
bedroom.
That
Wow.
was pretty.
Way
It
ahead
was
of its
state of the
time.
art. There was a
State of the
box in
art,
his,
yep.
his closet and everything. So he was in his pajamas, throw on his headset, and I'd have my grandmother wake me up, and I'd come and sit on his lap, and I'd put on the headphones, and I'd talk to his producer. His name was Eddie, and I would do a fake sound check and everything. Then I'd watch Papa do his thing. Then
Oh,
we'd all go
nice.
out and get bagels,
that's
and
cool.
I was like, "This is what I want
Yeah.
to do." So
Hey,
I
if you
Yeah.
can do it in your pajamas, it's
Exactly.
got to be good.
Exactly.
Exactly.
At that point in his
Yes.
life, yeah, he kind of earned it, I feel. So then you fast forward throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school. I, obviously wasn't going to have the opportunity to be a broadcaster. So I found the next
Why?
available.
Competitive and,
no, we just didn't have. No, just in middle school and in elementary school, we just didn't have the technology and everything
Gotcha,
readily
okay.
available that kids have today. Now all you need is like a itsy bitsy microphone.
Well,
and
I have to tell you,
you can FaceTime it.
You spoke with my son Clayton very
Yes.
early on in high school, and he had been watching. And I apologize if I've told this story before, but he had been watching baseball incessantly. We were paying a ton, sending him to Catholic private school. Okay, and he wasn't playing a sport. All he was doing was watching baseball, and I would pray, dear God, please don't have him be a couch potato. We're spending all this money.
Yeah.
Please, find a path for him.
Right.
So anyway, of course, I didn't articulate this with him. He goes up to the principal and says, Brother Gary, I want to call the baseball games. Now, St. Anthony's is a pretty big athletic school, okay?
The
Brother
Friars?
Gary, yes. Brother Gary says, go to, I think Mr. Buckley is the head. Go to him and tell him I sent you down there. Clayton goes down, knocks on the door, goes in. Brother Gary sent me. I want to start calling the baseball games. MSG Varsity Channel had him set up in 3 days to train him on the equipment. And this
Yeah.
goes to the difference in what's available now
Sure.
as to, what
Yeah.
when you were in school, that in 3 days, poof, he was a baseball announcer. And
Absolutely.
he was off and running. And it really set the stage for the rest of everything in his whole college career.
See, for me, I didn't really have that. I had one of my grandfather's little tape recorders with the mini cassettes that he used to do interviews with.
Yeah.
And he gave me one, and I would sit there and do fake radio shows, commercials, and so on, all
That's
throughout
great.
my childhood. But the only real avenue I had to perform was theater. And it just so happened that I could sing as well. So I got heavily involved in musical theater.
Oh, nice.
Any opportunity I had to go on the radio. There's a station out here, 92.1 WLNG, the home of 10,000 Golden Oldies, based out of Sag Harbor.
Oh, nice.
And when I was 6 years old, I was at the Bidawee. They had an animal show, I guess, in West Hampton. And the owner of the station, Paul Sidney, my grandfather was there. I introduced myself and I said I'd love to go on air, and he did a quick interview with me, and he promised me that he would give me my start in radio at age 6. He told me that.
Wow.
And every single summer I'd call up or I'd go to a live thing and I would jump on the air with him, or he'd give me the remote and I'd go and do a few interviews. And
Great experience.
it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then came graduation from high school. At this point I'd done tons of theater, very
What was your
limited sports
favorite
broadcasting.
role that you did in musical theater?
Throughout high school, my dream role was Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls,
Oh, okay.
and the head of the drama department gave that to me
Nice.
senior year. Best role I ever had was Anthony in Sweeney Todd, because Sweeney Todd is,
Yes.
I think, pound for pound, the greatest musical ever written.
Yeah.
But then the summer of '99, I called Paul Sidney that spring, and I said, hey, is there any chance I can work at the station? He said, yeah, we can intern. I said, that's perfect. Well, 1 week before I was supposed to start my internship at the end of June, I get a phone call from Paul, and he says, listen, the overnight guy, his name is Chuck Mackin. He's on midnight to 5:30, Monday through Saturday night. He said, Chuck's very ill in the hospital. Would you come in and at midnight, we'll play a prefab show, and quarter past, quarter of, jump on and do local news, sports, weather.
Wonderful
And I said,
opportunity.
sure. I did that one night. And the next morning, I wake up to a phone call at 10 a.m. I'm also running on 2 hours of sleep at this point from Paul. He said, hey, Colin, buddy, you sounded great. How about you go on the show? I want you to do it. Show up at about 11:30 tonight. You're going to pick all the carts and stuff that you're going to play the
That's
music.
wonderful. And
Just
you were
follow
familiar
this."
with all the equipment by then?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
Wow,
So
that's
I
a
showed up at
challenge.
11:15, and Holly, I forget her last name, was on the show before me, and I just sat there and I watched her and I jotted down notes, and it's like, this is bound
you
for
winged it.
catastrophe.
Wow.
Totally winging it. 19 years old, playing songs that I didn't even know exist. Now, fast forward, 17 years later, I can tell you every single song
Well,
ever written.
at my son's school, their radio station played heavy metal,
Right.
and I sat in the parking lot when he was like training, and I was,
Earmuffs?
oh my God, I was
Yeah.
like, this is a Catholic university, but the listening area is what, determined what they were going to play. But yeah, that was some pretty wild stuff. At least with this radio station, you didn't have to worry about, anything too
Well,
wild.
you got my curiosity up too. You had just mentioned, and this is just my own curiosity, that you said your grandfather had the little cassettes, and do you still have some of them?
I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I probably destroyed them. I mean, I recorded and recorded over and over and over again, and I'm sure, throughout my late childhood
Boy,
into
you'd like
adolescence.
that,
Oh, I wish I had them. And there was some really funny stuff too.
Yeah.
I found some of them when I was in high school, and I listened, and I was just like, I was a funny kid. I was definitely. I had a knack for comedy, a knack for announcing and everything, and for improvising. And I wish I still had those. I don't. But in that summer of '99, when I was doing radio, I actually was able to put everything together.
Do you
I was
have-
starring in a production of Grease and doing radio simultaneously.
Wow. Okay.
So it was
That's quite a
just
schedule.
The
Yeah.
amalgamation.
Do you have
yeah.
a lot of 16 millimeter stuff when you went? Well, he's a little younger than me, but I mean, do you have like
16
video
or was it 8?
of family gatherings and that with him?
How
We,
far
we
back do we
actually
go?
we found some old
Chisel. Remember the Flintstones?
Yeah, weren't they called reel to reel? We actually found a bunch of them, had them transferred to VHS,
Oh,
cool.
wonderful.
which of course is completely antiquated now.
Well, no, but you can have them digitized.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
we have all those things in storage, and
That's great.
and one day we
That's
will
great.
definitely transfer.
And
them to
you
DVD.
spoke about your internship and the radio. I just also want to bring up that you also did an internship, and I'm assuming this is at the college level.
Yes.
For SNL.
Yes.
So who were the stars at the time that you were there, and what was that like?
So this comes right on the heels of the summer of '99, where I get my first gig in radio, and I did that for 2 months, by the way. I was on 6 nights a week
That's
and starring
great.
in Grease, and I was running a theater workshop at a day camp at the Laron Beach Club in West Hampton. So that was the summer I learned that I could really work my tail off. Excuse me. So fast forward to that fall. I have a meeting with Saturday Night Live, which was, this is basically the only time nepotism has ever gotten me past the door.
And good for you.
You know, it,
and
and it worked, you know, and I went in for
Absolutely.
this interview and I got it, and so they put me in the talent department at
Yeah,
Saturday Night
and it's
Live.
good to get you in the door, but you have to stay in the door.
Yes, and so the season, the 99-2000 season, it was the 25th anniversary season
Oh,
of
wow.
Saturday Night Live, and the cast, you had Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Molly
Oh, the
Shannon.
cheerleaders.
Yep.
They were great.
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
they were awesome.
That was
Chris
a good-
Kattan,
good
Chris
run there.
Parnell.
And Mary Catherine
Yep,
Gallagher.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was a great cast.
Yeah, it was an amazing cast. And I actually befriended Tracy Morgan, who is very little used, but he and I, for some reason, just clicked. And at that time, I was a cigarette smoker, and he was always just like, yo, Colin, you don't have to go downstairs. Just go smoke in my dressing room whenever you want. And I said, okay, Tracy.
Nice.
And he saw me on the street smoking a cigarette one day, and he comes up, he goes, Colin, what are you doing? Go up to my dressing room. You're better than this. And I said, all right, Trey. And he
Very
still
nice.
remembers me to this day. If I see him.
So they were all very cool to you. And,
They were great.
Yeah.
I actually worked at 30 Rock for a long, long time. So I act in construction now, but I was in 30 Rock over 20 years. But I used to be able to go on Saturday night, and I would go Thursday nights and watch the dress rehearsals.
Oh, yeah.
And they were much better than the shows. I got
Yeah,
tell you.
the
I remember
Saturday
seeing
night
the
dress
Stones there,
rehearsal.
and Keith Richards jumping into the audience, and it was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Great times. Great
Yeah,
times.
that Saturday night dress rehearsal, it goes from 7:30 until 10:30, 11, and then they all get into the, you know, the room, the situation room, and they figure out what's getting cut and what's going to make the show. And there's nothing more electrifying that I've experienced in my entire career. Which it's not spanning so long, but you know, in my career,
But
I've
the
never
energy
experienced
level had
anything.
to have been amazing.
When they yell live from New York at Saturday
Yeah.
night, and they cut to the opening segment, or you know, the opening montage, and what you don't see is what's going on in that studio, and it is such controlled chaos, and the
Right.
crowd's going nuts,
Yeah.
and the cast is getting ready, and the sets are getting changed, and it's all happening, you know, while Don Pardo is
Right.
announcing
The
all
thing that
names.
it used to, I used to see him all the time. But what amazed me, and like I would bring, like friends of mine come into New York from out of the, different state or something. I'd always have them come into NBC because I could just go wherever I wanted to
Right.
go. And I actually did the studio probably 3 times over, when they redid it. But where the guest host comes out, everybody thinks they come out. It's a little space like
Oh,
this
yeah.
big. And so everybody that I would always bring them on the stage and let them get in there, because you think about Bellucci doing
yeah.
the cartwheels. I mean, the things that happen on that stage is amazing to just
Yes.
have that rush of standing there.
Well, and the thing that I found amazing, and it's just simple TV magic, but it was something that I had grown up with. So to see it in person was so mind-boggling to me. Was the where they have the opening monologue? It's called The Tongue, and it slides out, and that's where they also do Weekend Update.
Okay, well, here we go. We are going to continue this in our next show.
Let's do a part 2.
I think we should do a part 2. So join us for our next show. We're going to bring Colin back. We're going to share some great memories. And thank you.
And we will be right back within 3 minutes. So hang in there.
Maybe 2.
And now we're going to get into some good stuff too.
Really good stuff.
This is very cool to have
Really,
you.
really
I
good
am,
stuff.
I'm very excited to have you here. I really am.
Yes.
There's so many things I want to talk to you
I'm
about.
kind of nervous
So
now.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. This is the Long Island View. We will be back in 3 minutes.